So I'm going to go back to when we were talking about what many witnessed last night, the star, the what they're calling the Star of Bethlehem, or the Star of the Christmas Star. So let me just read the direct quote from earthsky.org about the Christmas Star. It says, in 2020, I don't know if you all, I didn't have a desire to stare in the sky for the star, but if you all witnessed it last night, there was the crossing of the planets of Jupiter and Saturn, and they were supposed to align in the constellation Pisces to form one star, and they were calling it the Christmas Star, or the Star of Bethlehem. They said it's true that Jupiter is the brightest star-like object in the evening sky, and Jupiter and Saturn closing together were making the one star because they were separated by 0.1 degrees and became, visible to everyone at that time. And so it's also, what do you call it? It represents paganism, because Jupiter, like I had explained, Jupiter in Roman mythology represented the god of the sky, but so did Saturn. He is the Greek god equivalent of Zeus. Saturn represented the god of seed sowing. He was also known as Cronus or Kronos, and we know that Kronos is also the word for time. It's a perverted seed time and harvest. And then I had also explained that this star appearing at this time is interesting because this star, in the Bible, it heralded the coming of the King or the Messiah, Jesus. Well, this star on this day, yesterday, appeared, and this star is supposed to herald the coming, but who are they heralding the coming of? And it was heralding the birth. Well, Christmas is exactly 9 months after Easter. I explained that. And so my question was, we're celebrating a birth, but whose birth? And so we're going to go into part 2. I just want to kind of review, because I'm going to read Luke 1, and we're going to do a timeline of Jesus's birth and juxtapose it with the birth of Tammuz, and then you make the distinction yourself. Okay, so I want to tell you that I'm going to hit everybody with a slew of references, and so it's a lot of reading, I know, but my thing, I want to start you off on your own journey to reading, because what I tell my babies is, please don't ever take my word from it. In fact, I would really like for you all not to believe me, so that you can go and do your own research and see, that I'm not, trying to start any cults or anything. This is not Jim Jones or anything like this. You go and you do your own research. I saw a person, I saw someone, or I read someone say, I don't want you to think like me, but I just want you to think, or something like that. And I thought it was a good thing. I'm not trying to make clones. I'm sharing what I thought, because I want to explain, just like I explained last week. This was one of my favorite holidays, and it got on my nerves that people would tell me that Jesus was not the reason for the season. It really bothered me that people would say that Jesus was not the reason for the season, because I was taught, that's what I was taught. And so it really bothered me. And so my research wasn't in favor of let's try to prove it wrong. No, I was trying to prove people wrong that were telling me that Christmas wasn't about Jesus. My research, and I got frustrated, like I told you all, because I wasn't finding anything that I wanted to believe, because I believed that it was right, and nobody was just going to tell me that this holiday was wrong because I was taught that it was right. And so I finally just gave up with the overwhelming information from the Bible and from history that this is not about Jesus. And so it upset me, and so I had to go back to a lot of people with egg on my face. And and that's why you don't go in pride. You need to be open to the information, because a lot of times, like I said, when you think you know what you know and you find out otherwise, and that's basically what happened to me. So this information is not because I'm not giving this because I want Christmas to be wrong, because this was my favorite holiday. No, it's because I was prideful and I was looking for information to fuel my point that it was right, and ended up getting knocked off my high horse. So I said all that to say I want to apologize if any of this information is offensive and lewd to anybody, but this holiday is fueled with spiritual adultery, fornication, orgies, whoredom, and perversion. That's what it's based on. So let's define adultery. Matthew chapter 5, verses 27 through 28. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who so much as looks at a woman with evil desire for her has already committed adultery in his heart. Spiritual adultery is a lust for something or someone outside of your covenant vows with God. What is fornication? Well, fornication is extramarital intercourse. What is the definition of intercourse? Well, intercourse in spiritual terminology means the meeting or connecting or tying of souls. It is a consummation of a marriage, legal or illegal. It's a covenant. What is an orgy? An orgy is intercourse between 3 or more parties. It's a perverse, mass, illegal marriage in the spirit. Perversion is confusion. It's Baal or Satan worship. Sex, and I'm giving you all information ahead of time that I'm going to give you again. I'm going to revisit at the end. But sex is part of the mystery religion. This is a major way spirits are transferred from temple to temple. What is whoredom? The practice of whoring or prostitution. It is faithless, unworthy, or idolatrous practices or pursuits. And I took that from languages.com. So what is the definition of a feast day? Just in the interest of time, I'm not going to ask. I know we've already gone through this, so I'm just going to define it. We discussed this back when we were talking about the feast days. A feast day in the Hebrew tongue is the word chag. It means a festival, a feast, a festival gathering, a pilgrim feast, a festival, a sacrifice, or a solemn assembly. The feast days happen on a moed, which means an appointed time, a day, a season, or an appointment. What does the word holiday mean? Well, many people have separated the feast days and the so-called holidays as something different, but they are separated in 2 days. In short, it's holy day brought together meant holiday. And so they separated the religious connotations and the secular holidays from one another. But I like words, so let's dissect this word, okay? Holiday. The word holiday is broken down into 2 parts, like I just said, holy and day. This means days that are consecrated or set apart. In the 1400s, is where the secular definition came in. It became a day where all work ceased, people rested, and took vacations. Doesn't that sound like a Sabbath? Like the biblical Sabbath? It's a mandated, set-apart day or a lot of time of resting with no work. All major businesses and government functions shut down in observance of many of these days. Again, head scratcher, okay? What is the difference? Okay, so I want to walk through scripture. If you are taking notes or if you're reading along with me, please turn to Leviticus 23, 25 through 32. It says, "Ye shall do no servile work therein. But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Also on the 10th day of this 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you. And ye shall afflict your souls and offer offering made by fire unto the Lord. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it shall be, for it is a day of atonement to make atonement for you before the Lord your God. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest. And ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even, from even to even, ye shall celebrate your Sabbath. Okay. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a holy convocation, a holy or a set apart day, and a convocation is a gathering or a sacred gathering. You shall do no manner of work. This is a Sabbath. It's a rest. So is there really a difference in the secular and religious meaning of the word holiday, other than who we're keeping the feast in obedience to? I listened to a guy named Truth Bell 777. So, and the thought came, this is very interesting, definitely interesting and suspicious indeed. And so, before I discuss Christmas, we have to go back to Easter. Okay? Okay. So a birth is being celebrated, but whose? So I want to read John 1:14 again. If you're taking notes or if you're reading along, please read along with me. This is taken from the Tree of Life version. And also remembering that God wastes nothing. He does everything with purpose and on purpose. He doesn't waste words. He doesn't waste time. He doesn't waste labor. He wastes no resources. So let's look at the scripture. And the Word became flesh and tabernacled among us. We looked upon his glory, the glory of the one and only from the Father, full of grace. Now, if you are in your Bible, there's the version, King James version, I believe it says dwelt among us, but just circle that word. It's tabernacle. Because like dreams, in dreams, every word and every symbol should be dissected and broken down for a deeper meaning. It's like a puzzle. The word tabernacle means dwelt. He dwelt among us. Now, on the surface, if you're just reading through and you're skimming through your Bible, this may be insignificant and you'll just move on. But look at that word and let's look deeper. Jesus was born at a time where the shepherds were tending their sheep. Now, does it make sense for Mary and Joseph to take a newborn baby in the winter months, walk through bitter cold and rain, because this was their rainy season in winter, and sometimes snow, walk through rain with a newborn baby, and then so that they can get to Egypt for a couple years? It doesn't make sense. So he was born during a time when they were tending their sheep. On the Gregorian calendar, the weather in mid-October to mid-April was wet and rainy, while the weather in their dry, warm seasons lasts from mid-June to mid to late September on the Gregorian calendar. Keep that in mind. And let's take it a step further. When was the initial tabernacle feast instituted? Well, it was instituted on the 15th of Tishri, the 15th day of Tishri, which on the Gregorian calendar, which the West follows, would be the month between mid-September to the early part of October. Let's take it a step further. Turn with me to Luke chapter 1. If you're taking notes, just write it down. If not, if you're reading along, and if not, just please listen. Okay? So Luke chapter 1. I might not read this whole because this is long. There was in the days of Herod, starting from verse 5, sorry. There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abiah, and his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. And they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blameless. And they had no child because Elizabeth was barren. And they were both now well stricken in years. And it came to pass that while he executed the priest's office before God in the order of his course, and put a pin on verse 8 because I need to explain something. According to the custom of the priest, his lot was to burn incense when he went into the temple of the Lord. 8 and 9. Okay, and the whole multitude of the people were praying without at the time of incense. Why? And what is the time of incense? I'll explain that in a moment. And there appeared unto him an angel of the Lord standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled and fell upon him. But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear a son, and thou shalt call his name John. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and he shall be filled with the Holy Ghost, even from his mother's womb. He'll be a Nazarite. And many of the children of Israel shall he turn to the Lord their God, and he shall go before him in the spirit and the power of Elias, to turn the hearts of the fathers, to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. And Zacharias said unto the angel, Whereby shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife is well stricken in years. And the angel answering said unto him, I am Gabriel, that stand in the presence of God, and am sent to speak unto thee, and to show thee these glad tidings. And behold, thou shalt be dumb and not be able to speak until the day these things shall be performed, because thou believest not my word, which shall be performed in their season, their appointed time, their moed. And he came out. And I just want to put a pause right there because there's just revelation that just came. Because Jesus was the Word. And the Word had to be performed in his moed, his appointed time. We're going to see what his appointed time, because he came and tabernacled among us. But when did he come to tabernacle, and when is he coming back? Because he was born during a prophetic feast day. Hallelujah. All right, let's keep it going. And when he came out, he could not speak unto them, and they perceived that he had seen a vision in the temple, for he beckoned unto them and remained speechless. And it came to pass that as soon as the days of his ministration were accomplished. Again, 23. This goes with 8 and 9 and 10. 23 is also, what are the days of his ministration? I will get to that in just a moment. He departed to his own house, and the Lord dealt with me in the days wherein he looked on me to take away my reproach among men. That's Elizabeth talking. And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God to a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. Now, I love the story, but I need to go because there's some things that I need to touch on. So I'm going to just go past what the angel said to her, if that's okay with you all. Okay, so verse 40. And entered into the house of Zacharias and saluted Elizabeth. And it came to pass when Elizabeth heard the salutation of Mary, the babe leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Ghost. And she spake out with a loud voice and said, Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. And whence is this to me, that the mother of my Lord, hallelujah, shall come to womb for joy? Jesus. And blessed is she that believes, for there shall be a performance of those things which were told from the Lord. And Mary said, My soul doth magnify the Lord, and my spirit hath rejoiced in my God, my Savior. For he hath regarded the low estate of his handmaiden. For behold, from henceforth all generations shall call me blessed. For he that is mighty hath done to me great things, and holy is his name, and his mercy on them that fear from generation to generation. He hath showed strength with his arm. He hath scattered the proud in the imagination of their hearts. Hallelujah. Verse 56. And Mary abode with her 3 months and returned to her house. Now Elizabeth's full time that she would be delivered. Okay, so she came when Elizabeth was 6 months pregnant, and she stayed there until it was time for her to give birth to John. I'm gonna give you a timeline, but I want you to just go and research it for yourself. It's fascinating and it is amazing. Okay, so I remember I was just telling you that I want to discuss what the offer of incense was, why the people everybody was without praying at the same time. Why? Okay, so the priest during this time would offer, his job was to offer incense to the Most High. Why were the people all out there praying during this time? Well, this was around the prophetic Feast of Atonement. This is why the people were there. The time of his duty for the priest was 7 days long. Elizabeth became pregnant immediately after his duties in the temple for 7 days. This would have put him, she would have become pregnant around early September. Now fast forward 6 months. Mary was already pregnant 1 month, 6 months. This would have been on the Gregorian calendar around February, which puts Jesus' birth during, and let's look at the word, and during the time of tabernacles, John 1:14. Remember that God wastes no word. So he would have been born around about this time of tabernacles during January, not January, oh Lord forgive me, September, October-ish, during the warm months. He would not have been born during a cold month. They would not have carried a newborn baby and walked and gone to Egypt during the cold months. Nobody would have survived, especially a newborn baby. Remember that everything has happened on a feast day, from Noah's Ark landing, from the children of Israel coming out of the wilderness, to Jesus's death and resurrection. Everything, the Feast of Pentecost, everything happens on a feast day. And remember that the Bible is echad, it's one book. So if it happened in the end, it would happen in the beginning. The beginning is the ending, and the ending is the beginning. Everything is cyclical. So if you want to know what something happened, you need to search the scriptures, and it'll tell you. Remember, in the last lesson on Hanukkah, he visited during the temple. He came. He told the disciples to go and observe the Feast of Tabernacles. What happened on the Feast of Tabernacles, or Hanukkah, the second one, in the winter? He said it was winter, or the scripture says it was winter. Well, remember that the Maccabees had restored the temple, and so everything happens on a feast day. So it is no a coincidence that John 1:14 says that he came and tabernacled among us. Now, why December 25th? I'm going to explain, and I want you all to please just go and look. This stuff is crazy. You can't make this stuff up. During the month of April-ish, around that time, was the feast of sun god worship, Baal. This is a time of orgies and all matter of licentiousness. This was to invoke the god Baal. Remember, temple. This is how spirits in paganism, or even the mystery. I'm getting ahead of myself, but the mystery of one. And so this is spirits go from temple to temple. And so this is why they would have wild orgies and things like that. Many women conceived during this time. And then 9 months later, December, many children were born and sacrificed to Molech for prosperity and good fortune for the coming year. Now, the Easter egg, or the egg, is a symbol of female fertility in paganism. So the children who were not born actually in December, they were born during this time of orgies and around their Easter, or Ishtar time, Easter, pronounced Easter. They were sacrificed to Baal to appease him, for prosperity for that year. But then the eggs, symbolic of fertility, were dipped in the blood of the sacrificed children. That's where you get the coloring of the Easter eggs, and also the rabbits. Those are symbols of fertility as well, because that rabbits, they multiply fairly quickly. Whew. Lord God help me. All right. So we're going to go into why Santa Claus, Molech, child sacrifice, Saturn, father time, Kronos, the Grim Reaper, and Satan. Here are some names for Hasatan, or Satan, or Lucifer. These are throughout history, and this is not an exhaustive list. Okay? There is Aris, and I'm not good at Greek, so if you all are, please forgive me for butchering this language, but I don't speak Greek, and I don't know how to pronounce it, so please forgive me. Aris, or Aries, Bacchus, or Dionysus, Eros, this is the god of lust, Hephaestus, or I don't know how to say his name, Hephaestus. If you know, scream it out, and then you can teach me how to pronounce it, because I don't know how to. Pluto, Hades, Poseidon, Zeus, Cronus, Father Time, the Grim Reaper, Lord of Time, Gregory. The Gregory were the Watchers. Abir, Shamash. There's that name again. We keep on coming on that name. Shamash is the servitor candle in the Hanukkah menorah. Remember, servitor means chaos and magic. Mars is another name for Satan. Cupid is a name for Satan. Vulcan, if any of you watch the old episodes of what's that show, Star Trek, yes. He would put his 2 fingers on one side and 2 on another to split it. That's the Vulcan sign. That's another name for Satan. Mercury, Pluto, Jupiter again, or Lupercus, Nebo, Odin, Woden, Osiris, Tammuz, Elbar. This means the God the Sun, little God, the SON, or the Sun God. Ra in Egypt, Baal in Hebrew, Baal in Hebrew, or Bel, Bel in Babylon, Belus or Lord Atlas, Saint Valentine, Dagon, the fish god, Nimrod, and Saturn. These are just some of the names that represent Hasatan, or Lucifer. Let's talk about Woden. Are you all praying for me? Please pray for me. Woden,
you got
Odin. Okay. Woden, or Odin, was the demon god of drunkenness, hedonism, all wisdom. He had supernatural knowledge, and death, human sacrifice. And we'll tie all this in shortly. This is why I need to break it down in parts, because I have so much information, and I just feel like I won't do it justice if I just cram it. It's not fair. And it's a big old tangled web of confusion. Especially this Santa character. He is an amalgamation of all these different cultures into one. His name also means inspired or illuminated one. We're also going to talk about the mystery religion. Child sacrifice. Why child sacrifice? Okay, so this is a direct quote. A human life was the most valuable sacrifice that the Vikings could make to the gods. At Trellisborg, this is one of the Viking sacred wells, was a sacrificial site found from the time before the Viking fortress was erected in 980 to 981. It was 5 or 3 centimeters or meters deep, and it was wells and animal skeletons were found when they did a dig, and also together with jewelry and tools as well. And out of the total human sacrifices that they found, there were 5 total human sacrifices, but 4 of those sacrifices were children between the ages of 4 and 7. Woden demanded a sacrifice to him, a child sacrifice or a human sacrifice to him. He demanded blood. Remember that he is also the god of death or human sacrifice. And it says here, and this is taken from, what is this? This is called vintageage.com. It's the natmushistoricalknowledge.com of Denmark. And it is very significant, they say, that the skeletons were found in the wells. The Vikings attributed to great symbolic importance to wells. Odin gained his wisdom from drinking from the well of Mimir's well. In exchange, he had to sacrifice one of his eyes to Mimir. But what could the sacrifice of a whole human be rewarded with? Well, his wisdom and his power. So people would be sacrificed to that well, and he would drink from that well. Turn 6 stuff. Okay, so it was always important for the Vikings to be on good terms with the gods, the demons. In order to ensure that this was the case, they made a bloat sacrifice. And a bloat sacrifice, all that means is a human sacrifice. They needed blood. The demons needed blood to be attracted. So the bloat was an exchange in which they sacrificed to the gods in order to get something back in return. What does this sound like? And so it was a goodwill offering regarding the weather. They wanted good weather. They wanted good luck in battle. And they wanted fertility or prosperity. The sacrificial rituals of the Vikings ranged from great festivals in halls to offering the weapons, jewelry, and tools in lakes. Humans were also hung from trees in the holy grove. So the human sacrifices in this day, they hung them from the trees as decorations, So originally, people were hung from the trees to decorate, which is absolutely kind of sick. According to the written sources, the Vikings repeatedly used certain sacrificial sites because they believed that there was particularly strong contact with the gods in these locations. Who sacrificed and worshipped in groves? Keep that in mind. It is believed that there were 4 fixed bloat sacrifices during the year. Winter solstice, which just started yesterday. Spring equinox. The summer solstice, around June 21st or the longest day in the year, and the autumnal equinox. The Vikings also held additional bloat sacrifices to their gods, which, for prosperity or in times of trouble. Now, remember back months ago when we did the study, when we were talking about the Canaanite worship. How did the Canaanites worship? When they had bad times, they sacrificed to Baal. They would sacrifice their children. They gave a whole burnt offering to appease Baal for prosperity for that year, for good crops, for good weather, or, just for good fortune. They wanted prosperity, and so they sacrificed to Baal. This is what the Vikings did. This is, and then Odin was their god. Remember that Odin is also a word for, a name for Satan. Baal Hamon. And I'm not going to, because I'm looking at the time. So Baal Hamon. In North Africa, he was the chief deity of the community for divine protection. And he was identified by the Greeks with Kronos, and the Romans by Saturn. Just about 15 more minutes. Okay. So there were 7 chambers before him, and according to the quality of the sacrifice, that is how close one could come to him. Baal Hamon. They would sacrifice birds, goats, sheep, cows, ox, and children. The child was the greatest sacrifice. And he would the child would enter the innermost chamber of Molech, and they would kiss him. The priest would then take the child and place the child near Molech. They would bang their drums to drown out the cries of the children. And so, goodness, they would bang the drums so that they wouldn't hear the cries, the parents, and then they would dance wildly and sing while the children cried and were burned to death in a whole sacrifice. And if you know anything about the different kinds of sacrifices to God, each has a meaning, and each please God. The the grain offerings and the whole meat offerings and things like this, where the child was a meat offering to Baal, or to Molech, Baal, and it was pleasing to him. The aroma and the scent was a sweet savoring scent in the nostrils of Molech. But they listen and remember Santa Claus. I want you to keep it in your ear, because in your mind, because remember that he sits in a red suit. He's a long bearded man like Saturn. He has all knowledge, and he sits in the lap. The parents come and symbolically sit their children in the lap of Satan Claus. And yes. Whew. 1 Kings chapter 7:11. Then Solomon built a high place to Shamash. Well, remember that Shamash is also a name for Baal, Hamon, Saturn, Jupiter. He is the Semitic god Baal, the abomination of the Moabites on the mountain that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. Solomon built an altar to Molech. And like I said, haven't we heard that name Shamash before? His name keeps on coming up. Shamash is the star that appeared last night that many people were beholding as the Christmas star, which actually technically in which language it is. Molech is the well-known deity of child and human sacrifice. So let's go on to Saturn. Saturn is the Roman god, of course, of child sacrifice. The image of Saturn as the one who eats his own children is usually interpreted as allegory of time, chronos, or father time, that brings into being that which is well then to devour. Chronos is time and the illusion of time, like the Gregorian, the watchers. We are on the Gregorian calendar, the time of the watchers, Chronos. Enthralled us by material realm. We are living, no, we're not living, they are living in a particularly Saturnine time, and with the conjunction of the Saturn and Jupiter in Saturn's domicile, the already ominous signs beg future analysis. Molech is Saturn by another name, and this was taken from this was even taken from a witchcraft site. So this is not even from a Christian standpoint. What the pagans are telling you who Saturn is. Saturn is Molech. Molech is Saturn. Saturn was the lord of the feast over Saturnalia, which I really wanted to get into, and I'm so glad I was able to within the time frame that that you all have allowed me to give you. So let's get into this because I thought it was interesting. This feast. So during Saturnalia, work and business came to a halt. Schools and courts of law closed, and the normal social patterns were suspended. People decorated their homes with wreaths and other greenery and shed their traditional togas in favor of colorful clothes known as synthesis. They were changing themselves. Even slaves did not have to work during Saturnalia, but were allowed to participate in the festivities. In some cases, they sat at the head of the table while their masters served them. Instead of working, Romans spent Saturnalia gambling, singing, playing music, feasting, socializing, and giving gifts to each other. Wax paper candles called Sarai were common gifts during Saturnalia to signify the light returning, or the return of the sun god reincarnated after the solstice. So this was between December 21st, the solstice was December 16th through December 24th. Saturn is the father of Jupiter. As previously stated, he was known as Kronos or Kronos, the father of time, or Father Time, who eats his own children. All right. Whew. There's a lot. According to scholars, okay, Steger and Wolf, in 1984, there was a consensus among the scholars that Carthaginian children were sacrificed by their parents, Baal worship, and I just want to go back. What was her name? Carthage was the goddess of fertility also, and I'll get more into that as well. So Carthaginian children were sacrificed. Remember the sacrifice of the sun god with Easter, or Semiramis, however you say her name, during the time of Easter. Well, this is just another culture doing the same thing. It's all Baal worship, who would make a vow to kill the next child if the gods would grant them favor. For instance, that their shipment of goods were to arrive safely in a port. They placed their children alive in the arms of a bronze statue. The lady Tanit, the hands of the statue, Tanit was a goddess of Carthage. The hands of the statue extended over a brazier into which the child fell once the flames had caused the limbs to contact, and its mouth would open. The bronze statue. The child was alive and conscious when burned. Philo specifies that the sacrificed child was best loved. So they gave a good sacrifice. They gave their best sacrifice to the god for prosperity. Later, commentators have compared the accounts of child sacrifice in the Old Testament with similar ones from Greek and Latin sources, speaking of the offering of children by fire as sacrifices in the Punic city of Carthage, which was a Phoenician colony. I don't know how to say this name, but I'll spell it. Cleitarchus. In his Scholia of Plato's Republic mentions the practice. There stands in their midst a bronze statue of Kronos, Saturn, Belhamon, its hands extended over a bronze brazier, the flames of which engulfs the child. When the flames fall upon the body, the limbs contract, and the open mouth seems almost to be laughing until the contracted body slips quietly into the brazier. Thus, it is the grin known as the sardonic laugh, since they die laughing. Sardonic is a sarcastic kind of grin. This reference also seems to clarify the statue itself was not made to move by the flames, but rather to the burnt and shriveled body of the victim was contorted by them. This is some sick stuff. I'm not going to read, but fear was also one of the things that they wanted the young boy or the child to have. Kronos wanted to inflict fear on the children. Okay. So why the Grim Reaper? I have about 4 more minutes. Bear with me. The Grim Reaper and Father Time. In Greek mythology, and this is going to all tie up, I just wish I had more time. In Greek mythology, Kronos, called Father Time, was the king of Titans and the father of Zeus. Kronos was a harvest god and carried a sickle, which is a tool used for harvesting grain. The Grim Reaper carrying a scythe is derived from a combination of Kronos and Cronus. I don't know what the difference. Chrous and Kronos. What is Yule? Yule is the winter. This is when the winter solstice begins, which was yesterday, the 21st. This is this was what modern world knows as Christmas, just with another name. Remember the song "Droll, the Ancient Yuletide Carol." The Yule was a log that represented an erect phallus that burned for 12 days. Yule was a god of sex, fertility, and prosperity. Animal and human sacrifices were thrown into the fire of the burning log to bring about prosperity for the coming year. And this was to appease the god of fertility in a perverse kind of whole meat offering. It's all Baal worship. Goodness gracious. I wish I had more time. One of the revelries was Saturnalia, a week-long festival celebrating the Romans' favorite agricultural god, Saturn, from December 17th to the 23rd. Tomfoolery and pagan hijinks ensued, and by hijinks we mean gluttonous feasting, drunkenness, gambling, orgies, public nudity, cross-dressing, sodomy, pedophilia, and all things debased. This was part of their Saturnalia feast, and then in between they gave gifts and they sang carols. But the active Christmas carol began, during this time, and the people were drunk, and they would go from house to house in the streets, but they were naked. And so, they would go caroling in the streets with no clothes on. And like I said, I can't make this stuff up, so please go look it up for yourself. It's kind of disturbing. And so, as promised, I'm right at the 15-minute line, so I'm going to end it here because there's so much more that I need to get into, but time will not permit. I want to talk about the colors of Christmas. I want to talk about the wreath. Why the wreath? I want to talk about the Christmas tree. We've already talked about the Yule log. I want to talk about this star of Bethlehem and Shamash, which I kind of already alluded to. We're going to even look at the words of Deck the Halls. It's telling you about Saturnalia. It's telling you how to perform this in the words of the song. I want to talk about mistletoe. I want to talk about even why there are Christmas bells. Where did the reindeer come from? Why does Santa go through the air? Why do we need Santa? And why the 12 days of Christmas?
Why they need Santa?
Why? Oh, thank you. Correct me. Yes, not we. We don't need him. Why do they need him? And I'm also going to talk about how this is linked with Mystery Babylon. Is this part of the mystery religion? And we're ultimately going to get into how the Son of God, or how the Sun God, became the Son of God on December 25th. And I'm also going to go through some other things. Right. Thank you. Little G-O-D.
Their God. Yeah.
Their God. And how his name, what Old Nick means in the dictionary. And all of these things I want to get into, but I don't have time to do it all today because that would be cramming too much information. And so I'm going to end it right here. Let me stop the recording, and then I want to pray.
I have a question.
Yeah. All right.
My question is, I know that you said that you wanted to get into the Christmas tree, and I don't want to jump ahead of you, but I want to ask because you mentioned the head, the balls, hanging from the tree. Is this the direct, can we link that with the scripture in Jeremiah 10 perhaps?
I'm going there, yes. And we're going to find out why. Yeah, that's part of it. And I'm going to also go at why you're hanging. This stuff is disgusting, and why we're hanging the ornaments, I'll just say, on the Christmas tree.
Do you sometimes find evangelism to be a little awkward? Hi, I'm Angie, the Mandated Reporter, and this is the Mandated Reporter Store. This collection provides a variety of beautiful designs with biblical themes and quotes to help you share your faith while showing off your fashion sense. Check out the store. Look in the description box for the link. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed day.